When we begin to think about the story of Jibreel, the first thing we must grasp is the unparalleled trust that Allah placed in him. Jibreel is not just any messenger, he is the angel of revelation, entrusted with the weightiest responsibility in existence, conveying the words of Allah to his chosen prophets. Imagine for a moment the gravity of this role. To deliver a message from the Creator of the heavens and the earth requires not just obedience, but absolute precision, unwavering loyalty, and a perfect understanding of the divine intent. There is no room for error, no margin for misunderstanding, and yet Jibreel fulfills this role flawlessly. From the earliest revelations to the final instructions to humanity, he serves as a bridge between the unseen world and the human experience. This trustworthiness is not merely a function of duty. It reflects the essence of what it means to be a conduit for divine guidance. When we consider the human experience, we are constantly tasked with responsibilities, some small, some monumental. And yet, how often do we reflect on the manner in which we carry out those responsibilities? Jibreel's example teaches us that true responsibility is more than just doing what is asked. It is doing it with meticulous care, understanding the profound consequences, and appreciating the sacredness of trust. Think about the psychological and spiritual dimensions of this trust. Jibreel carries the words that shape not just the lives of the prophets, but the moral and spiritual trajectory of entire communities and generations. Each revelation is a seed planted into the consciousness of humanity, and he is the one chosen to plant it. From a human perspective, this is almost unimaginable. How can one maintain perfection in every word, every interaction, when the weight of the cosmos is placed upon them? And yet, this is exactly the model Allah presents to us. Trust is sacred, and fulfilling it with integrity is a divine act. There is also a philosophical depth to this trust. Consider the nature of communication between the divine and human realms. Jibreel is a mediator, not altering, not embellishing, not interpreting for personal gain, but delivering exactly as commanded. In a world where humans often distort messages for their own advantage, the example of Jibreel reminds us of the beauty and necessity of truthfulness. He demonstrates that the value of a message lies not only in its content, but in the fidelity with which it is transmitted. The messenger must be aligned entirely with the source, embodying the principle of absolute integrity. And this has practical implications for us. Every day, we are entrusted with words, with promises, with responsibilities, sometimes small, sometimes life-changing. The lesson here is subtle but profound. The measure of our spiritual and moral development is revealed in how we treat the trust placed in us. Can we be reliable? Can we act with honesty and precision in fulfilling what is entrusted to us? If an angel can serve with such unwavering fidelity to divine instruction, how much more should we strive to serve faithfully within the capacities granted to us? Finally, understanding Jibreel's role opens our hearts to the awe-inspiring mercy and care of Allah. He does not delegate the monumental task of guiding humanity to someone careless or indifferent. He chooses Jibreel, the epitome of obedience, knowledge, and reliability. It is a reminder to us that when Allah entrusts us with responsibilities, no matter how modest or immense, He knows our potential and expects us to rise to the occasion. In reflecting upon Jibreel as the trusted messenger of revelation, we are left with a powerful insight. Integrity and responsibility is not merely a moral choice. It is a spiritual imperative. Every act of trust honored, every word faithfully delivered, brings us closer to the divine ideal. And so, as we navigate our own lives, may we pause to consider, are we worthy of the trust placed in us, and do we approach our duties with the precision, care, and reverence that Jibreel exemplifies? Because in that reflection lies the true measure of our character. and the path to a life aligned with the divine. When we reflect on the story of Jibreel, it is impossible to separate him from the figure of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and particularly from that singular, transformative moment in the cave of Hira. This first encounter with Jibreel is not just a historical event. It is a turning point in human history, a moment where the unseen world intersected with the human realm, and the trajectory of humanity was forever altered. But to truly appreciate this event, we must step into the shoes of the Prophet himself, and try to feel, even in a limited way, the psychological weight of what he experienced. Imagine a man isolated in the mountains, seeking clarity, purpose, and connection with his Creator. He is contemplative, reflective, and yearning for guidance in a society that often strays from moral and spiritual truth. And then, suddenly, a presence manifests, an entity unlike any he has ever seen. There is an overwhelming sense of awe, of fear, and of divine magnitude. This is Jibreel appearing in a form that is majestic and commanding, radiating authority and otherworldly light. The human mind naturally recoils at the incomprehensible, and the Prophet's initial reaction is fear, a natural human response. This is not weakness. It is the profound recognition of encountering the transcendent, the infinite, the ultimate reality. Jibreel's approach, however, is not merely to inspire fear. It is to communicate, to guide, and to transform. He instructs the Prophet to read or recite, the first command that initiates the Quranic revelation. And here we witness a subtle but profound point. Revelation is not about overwhelming the recipient with sheer force. It is about awakening potential, inspiring reflection, and inviting engagement. The Prophet is called not to passive reception, but to active participation, to respond, to internalize, and ultimately to transmit. Psychologically, this moment is a study in human transformation under divine encounter. The Prophet experiences a mixture of terror and awe, vulnerability and elevation. Yet, in this vulnerability lies the foundation of spiritual growth. Human beings, when faced with the divine, are reminded of their limitations, but also of their capacity for responsibility and insight. This teaches us that genuine encounters with truth, whether spiritual, moral, or intellectual, will always challenge us, stretch us, and unsettle our preconceptions. Growth, after all, is rarely comfortable. Philosophically, the first revelation embodies the principle that divine guidance is not abstract. It begins with a personal, intimate connection. Allah could have revealed his words in any number of ways, but he chose a direct, transformative encounter. This speaks to a deeper truth about the human condition. Understanding, insight, and meaningful transformation often require engagement, presence, and attentiveness. Truth must be lived, not just heard. It must be felt, not just understood. The Prophet's encounter demonstrates that spiritual enlightenment begins with a direct, personal awakening to reality, an awakening so intense it shakes the very core of the human self. And what is the lasting lesson for us? The first revelation is a reminder that encounters with truth, whether in the form of knowledge, divine guidance, or moral clarity, are rarely easy. They are profound, unsettling, and demanding. But they are also the very moments that shape our destiny, the moments where potential is awakened and responsibility is clarified. The Prophet's courage in receiving Jibreel's message, despite fear and uncertainty, exemplifies the human ability to rise above doubt, hesitation, and discomfort when guided by divine purpose. So as we reflect on this story, we are left with a question that challenges each of us. When truth calls, when clarity is offered, when insight presents itself, do we recoil in fear, or do we rise to meet it with courage, openness, and responsibility? The first revelation teaches us that growth, guidance, and transformation begin precisely when we dare to embrace what is unfamiliar, what is overwhelming, and what calls us to a higher purpose. In that encounter lies the blueprint for every meaningful awakening in our own lives. When we think about Jibreel, it is easy to focus solely on the act of delivering revelation, on the moment when divine words are transmitted to the prophets. But his role extends far beyond being a mere messenger. Jibreel is also a teacher, a guide, a mentor for the prophets, helping them understand the wisdom, context, and depth of the messages they are entrusted to convey. This teaching aspect is profound because it shows that guidance is not just about instruction. It is about nurturing understanding, shaping character, and preparing the recipient to carry immense responsibility. Consider the human mind in the face of divine communication. Revelation is not just a series of words. It is an experience that demands comprehension, internalization, and application. A prophet, despite being chosen and divinely protected, is still human. They experience doubt, they wrestle with the enormity of their task, they question how to lead a people steeped in error or apathy. And this is where Jibreel's role as a teacher becomes critical. He does not merely deliver commands. He explains, clarifies, and ensures that the prophet can fully grasp the message and implement it. It is a relationship built on trust, respect, and profound understanding. A model of mentorship in the highest spiritual form. Psychologically, this dynamic reveals a timeless principle about learning and growth. True guidance is not about blindly following instructions. It is about cultivating insight, reflection, and discernment. The prophets were expected to internalize the revelation, to let it shape their thinking and actions, and then to transmit it to humanity in a way that people could understand and act upon. Jibreel's presence ensures that this process happens with clarity, patience, and precision. It is a reminder for all of us that learning, whether spiritual, intellectual, or moral, requires a mentor, a guide, someone who can illuminate what is difficult and reveal the wisdom hidden beneath the surface. Philosophically, Jibreel's teaching role highlights the interplay between divine wisdom and human comprehension. Revelation is not static. It is dynamic, living, and meant to be understood, reflected upon, and applied. Jibreel bridges the gap between the absolute perfection of Allah's knowledge and the limited but striving human mind. He demonstrates that divine guidance is always paired with support, that knowledge without understanding is incomplete, and that even those closest to the divine benefit from teaching, explanation, and reinforcement. There is a deep lesson here for us as humans. Growth and understanding do not occur in isolation. We need guidance, mentors, and teachers who can help us interpret, apply, and embody the truths we encounter. Furthermore, Jibreel's role shows us that spiritual and intellectual development is an ongoing process. He did not deliver a revelation and walk away. He returned, repeatedly guiding the prophet, correcting, explaining, and ensuring comprehension. This continuity mirrors the way meaningful learning works in our lives. Insights, values, and truths are rarely absorbed in a single moment. They require reinforcement, contemplation, and repeated engagement. Jibreel's example reminds us that patience, persistence, and reflection are essential components of understanding and action. Ultimately, the story of Jibreel as a teacher leaves us with a powerful reflection. Guidance in its truest form is relational. It is a dialogue between the giver and receiver, a careful nurturing of understanding, a commitment to ensuring that knowledge becomes action, and in our own lives, whether in education, leadership, or personal growth, we can draw from this example. True teaching and mentorship involve patience, clarity, and unwavering support for those we guide. So, as we consider Jibreel's role in guiding the prophets, we are challenged to ask ourselves, are we open to guidance in our own lives? Are we willing to be both students and mentors, to learn deeply and to help others understand, reflect, and act? Because it is only through understanding, internalization, and thoughtful application that knowledge becomes transformation. And that is the essence of Jibreel's enduring lesson. When we speak of revelation, it is easy to imagine it as a serene, almost effortless transmission of divine truth. But the reality, as revealed in the story of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his encounters with Jibreel, was profoundly different. Receiving revelation was not a simple matter of listening and repeating. It was a deeply intense, often overwhelming experience that tested the Prophet psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually. And in understanding this, we gain a deeper appreciation of the human dimension of divine guidance and the lessons it holds for our own lives. Imagine the magnitude of the responsibility placed upon the Prophet. The words he received were not private, they were universal, carrying implications for generations, shaping societies, laws, morality, and the very essence of human conduct. With each revelation came the weight of the world's guidance and the expectation to understand, embody, and transmit it perfectly. Psychologically, this would have been exhausting, even for someone of the Prophet's unparalleled character. Revelation demanded intense focus, unwavering faith, and an extraordinary capacity to endure what can only be described as spiritual and intellectual pressure of the highest order. This pressure was not just external, it was internal as well. The Prophet experienced fear, awe, and even confusion at first. When Jibreel delivered the initial revelations, the intensity was so overwhelming that the Prophet returned home trembling, uncertain of what had occurred. This human reaction reminds us that even the greatest of God's messengers experienced vulnerability, hesitation, and the weight of immense responsibility. There is a profound psychological truth here. Growth and transformation often come through discomfort, through encounters that stretch us beyond what we think we can handle. The divine does not bypass our human limitations. It meets us where we are, and in doing so, it calls us to rise. Philosophically, the challenges of receiving revelation teach us about the nature of responsibility and the demands of guidance. Divine truth is not passive. It is alive, dynamic, and demanding. To receive it is not merely to hear it. It is to carry it, to wrestle with it, to internalize it, and to act upon it. This principle extends beyond prophets to all of us in our everyday lives. Every moment presents us with truth, moral, intellectual, spiritual, that require reflection, discernment, and sometimes courage. Our challenge is not in avoiding difficulty, but in embracing it, understanding that the discomfort we feel is part of the process of aligning ourselves with what is right, just, and meaningful. There is also a relational aspect to these challenges. Revelation is not simply a one-way communication. It is a dialogue of trust between the divine and the human. Jibreel's presence, the care with which he delivers guidance, and the patience he shows in teaching the Prophet all highlight that even in the face of immense responsibility, support is always provided. This serves as a lesson for us. When we are confronted with responsibilities or truths that feel overwhelming, there is guidance available through mentors, community, knowledge, and prayer, if we are willing to seek it. The challenge is not to face these moments alone, but to engage with them with humility, patience, and faith. Ultimately, the challenges of receiving revelation illuminate a timeless truth. Growth, guidance, and transformation are rarely easy. They require courage, endurance, and a willingness to face uncertainty and fear. The Prophet's experience teaches us that these difficulties are not obstacles to faith. They are essential elements of it. They are what allow the human spirit to rise, to mature, and to carry the weight of what is sacred with dignity and perseverance. So, as we reflect on this aspect of Jibreel's story, we are called to examine our own lives. How do we respond when truth challenges us? when responsibility presses upon us, when growth demands effort and patience. The lesson is clear. The path to understanding, wisdom, and alignment with the divine is not always comfortable, but it is always transformative. And it is precisely through embracing these challenges that we discover the depth of our resilience, the breadth of our faith, and the true measure of our character. As we explore the story of Jibreel, we see that his role does not end with the transmission of revelation to the prophets during their lifetimes. His mission extends into the unseen future, encompassing both the eschatological realities of the Day of Judgment and the fulfillment of prophecies yet to unfold. This aspect of Jibreel's story reminds us that divine guidance is not confined to history or to the past. It is ongoing, ever present, and intricately connected to the ultimate destiny of humanity. Jibreel's presence in eschatology serves as a bridge between the temporal and the eternal. In the Day of Judgment, he will play a role in executing the commands of Allah, delivering messages, and carrying out tasks that require absolute precision and integrity. It is not merely an administrative function. It is a demonstration of the meticulous justice, care, and wisdom of the divine. For us, this underscores an important psychological truth. The universe is not chaotic. Every action, every word, every intention carries weight, and there is a system guided by divine order and facilitated by beings like Jibreel that ensures accountability and fairness. Knowing this should awaken in us a sense of responsibility, humility, and vigilance in how we live our lives. Philosophically, Jibreel's role in future prophecies reflects the continuity of divine engagement with creation. The lessons of the past, the revelations given to the prophets, and the guidance provided through Jibreel are not isolated events. They are part of a coherent, overarching plan that stretches across time. In this way, Jibreel embodies the principle that divine wisdom is both immediate and eternal. What may appear as historical or abstract lessons are, in reality, preparatory guidance for moments yet to come. This invites us to consider our own lives in a broader context. The actions we take today resonate far beyond the immediate moment, shaping outcomes that we may never fully witness. Moreover, Jibreel's ongoing role in divine administration and prophecy emphasizes the importance of attentiveness and moral responsibility. Just as he carefully delivers and explains revelation to the prophets, so too does the unseen order maintain vigilance over human actions. This is a reminder that our lives are constantly observed, not in a punitive or fear-driven way, but as part of the broader moral fabric that sustains justice and accountability. The knowledge of this should not paralyze us but empower us to live consciously, to act ethically, and to cultivate a mindfulness that aligns with the ultimate truths of our existence. There is also a spiritual dimension to consider. Jibreel's involvement in future events points to a profound connection between the unseen world and the human experience. It is a reminder that life is not limited to what we see, hear, or understand. There is a reality beyond our perception, and it interacts with ours in ways that are subtle yet consequential. Recognizing this reality invites reflection, awe, and humility. It challenges us to expand our understanding of existence beyond material concerns, and to seek alignment with values, truths, and purposes that transcend the immediate and the visible. Ultimately, the story of Jibreel in the context of future prophecies and the Day of Judgment calls us to a deeper awareness of life's trajectory. His example teaches us that divine order is precise, that accountability is real, and that the guidance offered to humanity through revelation is continuous, purposeful, and encompassing. For us, this should inspire a heightened sense of ethical responsibility, spiritual vigilance, and reflective living. So as we consider Jibreel's role beyond historical revelation, we are faced with a challenge to live in awareness of the unseen, to act in accordance with enduring truths, and to cultivate a life that resonates with the wisdom, justice, and guidance that Jibreel represents. In doing so, we do not merely prepare for the unknown future. We embody the principles of trust, integrity, and consciousness that define a life in harmony with the divine. As we reach the conclusion of Jibreel's story, it is vital to step back and reflect on the enduring lessons his example imparts for every one of us. Jibreel is more than a historical figure, more than an angel of revelation. He is a model of faithfulness, obedience, and unwavering commitment to the will of Allah. In studying his story, we are offered a lens through which to examine our own lives, our actions, and the depth of our connection to the divine. One of the most profound lessons from Jibreel's story is the nature of obedience. His service is defined by absolute submission, not blind, but precise, thoughtful, and fully aligned with the commands of Allah. Every message he delivers, every interaction he has with the prophets, is executed with perfect adherence to divine will. Psychologically, this challenges us to consider how we respond to guidance, both spiritual and moral. Are we hesitant when obedience requires courage? Do we allow personal pride, convenience, or fear to compromise our commitment to what we know is right? Jibreel's example demonstrates that true obedience is not reactive. It is deliberate, consistent, and anchored in trust. Faith is inseparable from this obedience. Jibreel operates within the unseen, fully aware of the vast consequences of his actions, yet he carries out his mission with unwavering certainty. For the human being, faith often requires navigating uncertainty, embracing responsibility without knowing the full outcome, and trusting that the guidance we receive is both just and purposeful. The psychological lesson here is profound. Faith is not passive belief. It is active trust, coupled with the courage to act in alignment with what we know to be right, even when the path is unclear. Jibreel embodies this principle perfectly, showing that faith and action are inseparable. There is also a philosophical depth to Jibreel's example. He reminds us that connection to Allah is not limited to ritual or external practice. It is cultivated through alignment with divine wisdom, through integrity in fulfilling responsibilities, and through the conscious awareness of the unseen order that shapes reality. Just as Jibreel operates in full consciousness of Allah's presence and plan, we are invited to live with mindfulness, acknowledging that our words, actions, and intentions are part of a larger moral and spiritual framework. The lesson here is subtle but powerful. The quality of our connection to Allah is measured not only in our devotion, but in our awareness, sincerity, and integrity in daily life. Moreover, Jibreel's example challenges us to consider the weight of responsibility in every act we perform. As the trusted messenger of revelation, he carried the words that shaped humanity, and yet he did so with humility and reverence. For us, this is a call to cultivate mindfulness in our own spheres of influence. Our actions, however small, carry consequences, ripple effects, and moral weight. Whether in our families, communities, or personal endeavors, the way we act, guide, and communicate reflects our connection to higher principles. Finally, the story of Jibreel teaches resilience and consistency. His service is continuous, unwavering, and patient. He does not falter, delay, or question the mission once entrusted to him. For us, this serves as a mirror, a reminder that spiritual growth and ethical living are lifelong commitments. True alignment with divine guidance is not occasional or selective. It is sustained, persistent, and conscious. As we reflect on these lessons, we are invited to ask ourselves, are we living in a way that embodies integrity, faith, and mindfulness? Are we attentive to the responsibilities entrusted to us, whether in knowledge, action, or moral conduct? Jibreel's story challenges us to rise to the standard of excellence that is possible when trust, obedience, and faith converge. So let us take this lesson to heart. The measure of our connection to Allah is revealed in our willingness to act with integrity, to trust fully, and to serve faithfully in every aspect of life. Let us not merely admire Jibreel from afar, but allow his example to inspire courage, reflection, and transformation within ourselves. Because in emulating even a fraction of his unwavering commitment, we step closer to the ideal of faith that transforms not only the individual, but the world around them.